Hi guys, it's Andreas, Sonic Mainliner, with a very different video this time. In one of my earlier videos, I think it was the one that was all metal, I did mention that I bought this album, and I have like loads of things to say about this, and maybe I would do like a video just about Ride the Lightning. And sure enough, Aaron, the metal theologian, actually said that, yeah, I'd watch that video. I was like, all right, Aaron, this one is for you. I don't know how it will work out. I have no idea. It might be complete rubbish, but yeah, here goes. Yeah, so where to begin? There's could be some information that is like mundane and stupid and whatnot, and I think some more like interesting stuff as well. So the reason why I have now, this is obviously the CD version, as you can tell, that either or I'm like huge, but yeah, it's the CD version that the remastered version that came out like whoops, not too long ago, and I have vinyl copies of this back in Greece, which I bought when I was like what 14, 15 or something like that. And the reason why I have a lot of things to say about this album is because I know it like the back of my hand, really. I mean, I have listened to this many times. This was originally I had it on a tape dub from a friend who had it as a tape dub from another friend who had the record. So, that's how things circulated, when you're 13, 14 years old. You don't have that much money to buy records, so, tape trading was the thing. Now these days it's MP3 and whatnot, and you can get it for free on, YouTube and whatnot. But thing is that back in those days, we had to trade tapes basically. So anyway, yeah, I had this as a tape, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like tapes. I always had the tape dub, and on the spine it had Metallica written with like emulating the logo and all that kind of stuff. But which is fun, but I always wanted to have the record. So yeah, I never like I always like thought of tapes as a lower quality and not as desirable as records. So eventually I did find the money and I did get the record, and I have like Music for Nations a version of this back home. Yeah, so this is but one of the things that has always bugged me about this album is that it sounded a little bit murky. I mean, my copy, which I actually played when I went back home last year, I think, I definitely put it on. And it's one of the records on Metal Records that I didn't purge when I was 20, which is, it's happy days, I guess, because I did purge quite a few records that are very expensive now and I cannot get back unless they get reissued, which some of them are. So it was always a little bit murky, I think. It wasn't that good. So Kill 'Em All was like really, like, it's stripped down, right? But it's clean. It's very clean. It's like, this is what it is, and boom, job done. This is a little bit more of an ambitious album. The second album, which is like, they try to do a lot more with their sound. They're like a lot more progressive, I guess, in that sense. And trying to do more with their sound at 1984. When did this come out? Like 1984. I want to say 1984, but I am not entirely sure. So it has the lyrics, which is good. Compact disc, yeah, don't touch the grooves. 1984, yeah, I remember correctly. So 1984, it came out in 1984. Production on metal albums was not that advanced, I think. The ambition was there, definitely, but the technical capabilities were not there. So this series of reissues, this one and this one, are very well. I have CDs in front of me, so just in case you're wondering, it's like I have like a stack of CDs. So yeah, the production was never good and never that good. And the reissue of this one, which is the first time that it has been remastered, is actually really good. I don't know what they did exactly. I don't. It's very subtle. It's not like really pronounced. It's not something that sort of it's a glaring sort of difference, but the difference is there, and it does sound a lot cleaner and a lot more powerful than the original, than what I remember it to sound like. And as I said, I played it like last year on my stereo back home, which is a very good one. I mean, I have a Riga turntable and whatnot, and it's like it's a good hi-fi setup. Like yeah, I still have like which is still there, and it sounded a little bit like a little bit murky. It's nothing that you would put you off, but you know that they if they could they would do it a little bit better. But the remaster here is a really good job, very good job, and I don't know if the vinyl sounds really good, but I opted to go for the CD because A, I have an original anyway, and B, because this was £6. So come on, man. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I didn't want to fork out like three times that amount to get the album. I did have uh, the half-speed masters from Capitol before, and I consumer advice here, guys. Steer clear of these. I'm talking about the non 45 RPM. I wouldn't buy the 45 RPM anyway because I think it's just pointless. Um, it's not an audiophile recording anyway, so what's the point? So yeah, it lacked a decent, proper reissue. I know that after the half-speed masters, then there was the rights were bought by Metallica and they reissued them on their Blackened label. But this is the first time that they have been, which apparently it's a better pressing. It's like a better quality overall. But this is the first time that it has been reissued and reissued as a remastered version. And as I said, it's a really good job. Now, reissues that are remastered, usually it's like, oh yeah, let's reissue it, let's remaster it, which usually means that they put it a little bit higher up, like the volume a little bit higher or something like that. But there are cases that remastered albums just sound crap. It's like, what the hell did you just do? I mean, here's an example, right? A very good example actually is Megadeth, where it says remastered. In reality, it's like remixed. It has different things going into the actual music, which I've listened to the originals, and the remastered sort of remix thing that Mustaine did just puts me off. I don't like it. I just don't like it. And these are albums that actually, especially the first ones, that could actually use some proper remaster. Maybe get the guy that did this one. Or another example that I had in mind is Deep Purple. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Deep Purple, and I like them, as much as the next guy, I guess. And here's a funny one. So the Deep Purple Made in Japan uh, is available on Spotify. I stream a lot of stuff that I don't have, and for some reason Spotify has albums that have been reissued multiple times. So it's not like oh, we have this album and then it has been reissued and remastered, so we take out the old version. They keep the old version and they add the consequent sort of reissues, and even if it's like two songs extra, they like add that to it. It's like it's with extra songs, the deluxe edition or whatever. So Made in Japan is quite funny because they have three versions. They used to have four versions. I'm pretty sure they had four versions at one point. One is the original sounding one, which is like 1972, 73 or something like that. Then they had another version of it, which was like 25th anniversary sort of digital remaster or something like that. Then they had another one which was like the 30th anniversary. And then they had the current one, which came out in like 2015. So it's really funny. Check it out. They have three of them now. So they have like the original sounding one, the latest one, and the one that was like, I think from, it's the 30th anniversary or something. Don't quote me on that. Check it out. And it's funny to check the sound from recording to recording to recording. So the 1973 one sounds like a band from 1973. Then you go on to the 25th anniversary or 30th anniversary or whatever it is, and it sounds a little bit louder, everything's a little bit higher up, and it's like, all right, okay, I can live with that. And then you go on to the 2016 one, 15 or whatever it is, and it sounds like a completely different band. It's like Gillan's vocals were like, they just took that track and then they had the band play back the songs again and then dubbed it. It just doesn't sound like 1973. It doesn't sound like a hard rock band from 1973. There is like a kick drum that you can actually hear. It's just the drums are just they have a presence that would never be attainable with 1973's technology, I think. Maybe they would be attainable, but not for a rock production. Let's put it that way. It doesn't sound like a 1973 recording. And that is a disaster. In my opinion, it's like, no, it's just, you fucked it up, pretty much. So yeah, this is a really good remastering work. Now, the actual music, which this is like, all the boring stuff, really. The actual music, as I said, I know this by heart, really. I mean, I've listened to it so many times. Back in the day when I was like 14 years old, this one was my favorite Metallica album. I think that it was at a time before they released Injustice for All. So I remember anticipating the release of Injustice for All when I discovered Metallica and I was listening to Metallica. And this was my favorite album. And I think that I know what the reason behind this being my favorite is. But I'll get to that a little bit later. Now, this album as I said, it's like a lot more ambitious than Kill 'Em All. Kill 'Em All was stripped down, it was like pure thrash. This one has a lot more elements, and it has some elements that are recurring in other Metallica albums. So, for example, it has a ballad, right? This is something that you can find in every consequent Metallica album, apart from Kill 'Em All. It has an instrumental, which is something that they followed up with in the next album. I think these are the two main things I could say. The other thing is that this is also an album that is more of a trendsetter. So it's really sort of has defined sort of the bar. It put the bar where thrash metal should be, really, and especially with the opening song, which is Fight Fire with Fire, and something that everybody replicated after Metallica did it, which is the classic guitar, acoustic guitar, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is, like intro. So dun 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 da 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 da, and all that kind of stuff, and then just the guitars just come rushing in, like it's unbelievable. And this is a fantastic intro. It's like the best opening of a metal album, I think, ever. At least from a guitar sort of point of view, because Judas Priest have done some a really good job with Exciter, with the drum intro, and then consequently with Painkiller, which is pretty much the same. Exciter and Painkiller start almost identically, but this one, it starts off with the guitar, with the guitar, and then those the acoustic guitars, and then the electric guitar comes in, and the sound. I mean, it still gets me, man. It's unbelievable. I have never heard the sound of a guitar making a sound like that. It's just massive. I could very well hear that like 5 seconds of intro of Fight Fire with Fire, like on a loop. It's just unfucking believable. It's the most exciting metal moment in my life, I think. Listening to those like 5 seconds or whatever, where the riff actually comes in. It's just, I could listen to an album that plays that sound all over. And to be fair, they do have a lot. The guitars are a lot more massive than Kill 'Em All, for example, which they are very thin sounding, intentionally. It's the thrash sound. This is like the sophisticated thrash sound, and yeah, it's just fucking amazing. And Fight Fire with Fire has been one of the main reasons why I like this album. It's just unfucking believable. It's like fantastic. And then going on to the track listing, it's quite interesting. Now, I will say this, that when I was young, this was my favorite Metallica album. But as I grew older, I think that things have shifted a little bit. I think I prefer, well, to me, Metallica are the first 4 albums, right? It's This is Metallica for me. The Black Album was like a bit too commercial, and to be honest, I don't like stuff that. I'm a dick, all right. If something's really popular, I don't pay attention to it. Okay, it's like um, it's how it is with me. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, and the Black Album was very successful. A lot of people were listening to it, and I was like, nah, I, I'm. It's all right. It's good. It is a good album. It has its merits, but it wasn't Metallica. I mean, Metallica for me ends in Justice for All, and I can enjoy some of the later stuff as well, some, but not really. I mean, yeah, they have moments after Injustice for All. I think they just have moments. My opinion. Other people might like it, might like what they're doing after that. But yeah, so when I was really young, I really liked this one. But now these days, I prefer Kill 'Em All because it's so raw and so energetic. It's just way better in my opinion. And Justice for All, because it is an album that sounds like no other album. Well, you could say Pantera sound a little bit like that, but they have a more of a groove. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, this used to be my favorite album, but it, tastes sort of change over time, and yeah, this is like the 4 albums are the classic Metallica period, and I think it has to do with the fact that for these 4 albums, there was an influence of Cliff Burton. After Burton obviously died, obviously, you probably know that he died in a car accident with a bus, with a tour bus during the Master of Puppets tour. So I think he was a big driving force behind the sound that Metallica had and the way that they made music. and when he was gone, it just they just lost direction. They sort of still had it. I think that there was some momentum with Injustice for All, but after that they just lost it. Um, yeah, and it's a real shame. And you know, it's really funny because everybody's like revered Cliff Burton, and I was like, why? He's a bassist, and you know, it's like bassists in metal usually don't get that much love, unless you know you it's Iron Maiden, but or Tom Araya, but in general they're not the most significant member of the team of the band. But in this case, I think that Cliff Burton had a huge influence, and you can check out. There's a video of him playing in the school Battle of the Bands or whatever, which is available on YouTube. It's like 20 minutes or something, 25 maybe, no more than that, and it shows that he had a vision, B, he had great musical taste, and C, he wasn't playing metal, which is quite interesting because what he was playing was something like a Rocket from the Tombs. Is it? I'm talking about the Cleveland band that eventually became Perubu. I think it was Rocket from the Tombs, or is it? Uh, or there's a band that has a similar name, so maybe forgive me, but it sound anyway. The sound is very post-punkish, very abrasive, and there is a bit there that he plays a part of a song which I cannot remember right now whether it was something that came up in Master of Puppets or whether it was something that came into a song from here. I cannot remember because I listened to it like many years ago and I cannot remember right now. But it's really interesting and you should check it out. So I think that he was a big driving force behind all this. And to be honest, I haven't checked to see the credits. Yeah, I mean Burton. His name is all over the place, man. It's yeah. Trapped Under Ice is not there, but Creeping Death, Call of Cthulhu, Fade to Black, all the good songs anyway. So he was a big driving force, and that's when he died. They just lost their way, I guess. So anyway, going back to the track listing and saying that this album is not my favorite one anymore, and I don't think that is straight A sort of album. It's like it has its good points, which are very good, are extremely good, and there are some low points that are okay, and they are okay for the rest of the package. So we start off with Fight Fire with Fire, as I said, trend setting with the acoustic guitar. The sound of the guitar is amazing. The song is like really sort of. I like the fact that it's like a telegraph. The lyrics are delivered in a very telegraph fashion, and sort of gives more urgency. And then it's followed by Ride the Lightning, which is great. And my favorite one, though, which is interesting, it's sort of for different reasons, is For Whom the Bell Tolls, which I find that it's like it conveys this sort of rage that there is this part in the song where it says now you can see blinded eyes to see how where does it say exactly, and now they'll see what will be, blinded eyes to see. So it's just, and the delivery on that one is just so it's powerful. It's really, I don't know, it gets me. And the theme of it is like, is very, it sounds important, and it sounds like something that you should pay attention to, basically. So it's really good. I don't know whether it's based on For Whom the Bell Tolls. That's Hemingway, isn't it? I haven't read it. Sorry about that. So, maybe I should. But yeah, it's just fantastic. And then obviously it follows on with Fade to Black, which is like their first effort in a sort of ballady sort of area, or like power metal ballad, which they tried again in the next album and then sort of succeeded finally with one on Injustice for All. But yeah, it's a very good song. It's a very good structure. I mean, everything like sort of flows very easily. However, then there's a lull. There's like a little bit of a drop, and then a drop off where you have Trapped Under Ice and Escape, which Trapped Under Ice is a good song. Is a really good thrashy song, but it just lacks the quality of the previous ones. And if this song was like in another band's album, then it would be like, oh yeah, Trapped Under Ice. But because it's Metallica and because it's on this album and it follows, on from Fade to Black and For Whom the Bell Tolls and Ride the Lightning and Fight Fire with Fire, you sort of like meh a little bit. I always also the other thing is that I don't like the theme of it. Whereas with the other ones there is something to them. There's like something to actually listen to. Whereas Trapped Under Ice sounds like a little bit, I don't know, uh, not so interesting anyway. Same goes with Escape, which I don't think that is like it's one of the best efforts. And then we put the pedal to the metal basically, and we go with Creeping Death, which is just epic. And it's quite interesting because it's like it's a biblical story, right? It's like it's Moses and like, oh, so let it be given, so let it be written, let it be done, and you can imagine something like Charlton Heston with a guitar on the mound, like, so let it be written, yeah, something like that. It's quite interesting though, because usually metal bands, when they have to do with religious themes, they are like they prefer the underworld rather than the heavens. So, and I think that, and that's another interesting thing about Metallica, is that I don't know if you've seen Some Kind of Monster. I think that's what it's called. It's the Metallica documentary, and it was shot around the time when Jason Newsted left, and the band was in disarray, and it just shows a band that is just falling apart. They have, they feel this immense burden on their shoulders that Metallica is so much bigger than them, but they are Metallica and they need to find a way of working with each other, and all these like grudges and whatnot and all the years of touring together and all that kind of stuff just has their toll on them, which is really really interesting. Anyway, one of the things that was mentioned in that, it's interesting to watch even if you don't like Metallica. I think that it's very very sort of revealing of what musicians have to go through, I guess. Yeah, it shows them like they go to psychiatrists, not psychiatrists, but analysts, I guess, or whatever you call them, and they talk about their problems, and one of them says to Lars that he has to face David Mustaine. It's just it's unbelievable. It's just you're like, fucking hell, man. I idolized you. I mean, you were like, I had you, really high up in my esteem. We were like, you were my idols, and like, look at you. You're idiots, complete idiots. Anyway, doesn't matter. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, about the creeping death, about the biblical stories. They made a decision apparently, and it was sort of a business decision in the sense that Metallica decided that they would not have themes of evil and the devil and things like that, and all their lyrics would be sort of family friendly, if you like. So it's quite interesting. Anyway, Creeping Death. Another interesting tidbit is that Metallica also is the only band that I have 12 inches of. And the reason why I have the 12 inches from Metallica is the B-sides. And the B-sides are really, really, really good. I have three of them. I have Creeping Death for sure. And I think that the B-side on that one is Blitzkrieg, which is from Blitzkrieg, which is new wave of British heavy metal. And I think it's Bread Fan. I don't know, but they do covers, and the covers are just brilliant. They do Diamond Head and things like that, and they're really worth picking up. You can find them on the CD version of the 498 EP or whatever. It came out as a double CD, and has all these B-sides which are really good, and yeah, they play them really nice. Um, and then after Creeping Death, which is just a killer song, you have Call of Cthulhu, which is very unusual for a, well, not for a metal band potentially, because Maiden had done some instrumentals, but in general, I think that it was a bit unusual for a thrash band to have an instrumental. And I remember Aaron saying that, oh yeah, well, Call of Cthulhu is like meh, whatever. But both of the instrumentals that they did, Call of Cthulhu and Orion, are really good. They work. They not only do they work, but I was listening to this like yesterday, and there's such a nice flow, and it's not like a song that feels like filler. It's like, oh yeah, we'll play something, and it actually feels like a proper song, like not a proper song. It's like it doesn't have lyrics, but it doesn't really matter. It's so good that, at least in my mind, it's sort of, I think of, Cthulhu when I listen to this one. My favorite one is Orion, I have to admit, but Call of Cthulhu is if Orion is a 10, then Call of Cthulhu is like 9.5 or something. So yeah, and that's these are my thoughts on Metallica, Ride the Lightning. As I said, this used to be like one of my favorite albums from them. It used to be like my favorite album at the time that I discovered it, and yeah, it's just I still like it. I still like it. As I said, my tastes have evolved a little bit, and I sort of tend more towards the Kill 'Em All side rather than the more thrashy and more sort of dressed up version of Metallica. But this is perfectly good, solid. I mean, why should I even say this? This is an absolute classic, right? It's an absolute classic. If you listen to metal, you will have to listen to this album eventually. You will have to listen to at least one of the four first Metallica albums. There's no way that you're going to avoid that. If you manage to avoid that, maybe you shouldn't. I have no idea what else to say about this. So yeah, Metallica, Ride the Lightning. These were my thoughts. I don't know if you agree, disagree. I don't know if you enjoyed the video. I think I covered all the points I wanted to address, if you like. All the things that have been coming into my mind when I was, listening to this, and I was, every time I listen to it, because it's so familiar, it's like, oh yeah, I can. Oh yeah, what about that? Oh yeah, yeah. Things come to my mind, and I'm like, you know what? I should share that, and that's a good thing about having listened to an album for like almost like what 30 years now. embarrassingly, yeah, almost 30 years. So I have been listening to this album for 30 years. So I have accumulated some thoughts about it. And yeah, and that's it. Anyway, 35 minutes. Geez, I don't know if you're still listening. If you are, then congratulations. That's all I have to say. Anyway, I hope you liked it. If by any chance you did like it, then leave a like if you want. If you didn't like it, then leave a dislike. You're more than welcome to. Please leave a comment if you feel like it. These sentences all end with like. I'm trying subliminally to make you like my video. So anyway, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, leave a comment, subscribe, unsubscribe if you think that this is rubbish, and I will be coming up with a new vinyl finds video over the weekend. I promise. See you guys.